Got to get with it. Got to keep going. Got a lot of stuff to get through. Okay, so let's do all these journal entries really quickly. You guys do know, right, what you're doing here. You know how to. You know debit means left. You know credit means right. We're going to use them. You know about assets, liabilities, equity. You know about revenues. You know about expenses. That's all we're working with here. You know about net income, of course, okay, which is not an account. You know you increase these with what? Because they're on the left, these with credit. You know you increase these with credit, because that means right, and then you reduce them with. What do you increase revenues with? Seeing as they're a subset of equity, and they increase equity and the credit. Their credits put too much in debit expenses. You increase with the debit, right, guys? Because it's lowering equity, right? If I get those expenses higher, I have less equity. Huh? Okay, net income, debit or credit? Credit, of course, because these credits exceed those debits. Net loss? Debit, because these debits exceed those credits, huh? That's it. Big deal. Okay? Anybody can do this, right? All of you guys have that. I know you do. Okay? Now use it. Use it. Use it. Every time you look at something you think you don't know what you're doing, go back. Okay? What do I have? What do I have? Okay, so let's start with the first one on here again. Number 9. Owners borrowed $4,000 cash to start the business. What did the business get? Cash, which is a asset. I'm going to debit it because it is a asset and I have more. That's it. That's your thought process. Don't memorize journal entries. Don't memorize you increase cash with a debit. It's an asset. You increase all assets with a debit. Right? It's easy then. Okay, we're starting the business. They borrowed it, right? So what do they have? A note payable, probably, which is a liability. Yeah, more or less we borrowed money. More liability. How do you increase liabilities? All of them. With a credit. Wouldn't it be cool if you credited notes payable? And look what happens here. In every exchange, the debits have to equal the credits. Nice little system, huh? Because it just works that way. I have more asset, I have more liability. Does everybody agree? If I asked you what the effect of this transaction was, what would you tell me? Some of the questions are going to be like that. Could you tell me, I mean, you just did it, right? Can you tell me that you just increased assets? Can you tell me that you just increased liabilities? Could you tell me what's wrong if you don't do it? What's wrong if you don't do it? Okay, here we go. Assets equal liabilities plus equity. Revenues less expenses is net income. Let's do a couple of these. What if you fail to do this? Well, just write down what it would do if you did it, right? What happens? Assets go up by $4,000 because cash is an asset. Liabilities go up by $4,000 because notes payable is a liability. What would happen if you don't do it? I think your assets would be understated if you don't do it because you failed to increase them. What do you think? Can you answer these questions? Big deal. If you know the journal entry, it's easy, isn't it? Okay? And that's the idea. Get the journal entry first. You can't possibly know what happened to an account unless you know you debited or credited and what kind of account it is. Okay? You can't. So don't try to do that first. It won't work. You just sit there and spin your wheels. Okay? If I fail to increase the liabilities, what would be wrong with them? They'd be too low. It'd be understated. These are ridiculously easy questions. Okay? Don't let them blow you away. Big deal. It looks a little different. Okay? All right, let's do the next one. Owners invested land worth $10,000 in the business in exchange for stock. What did the company get? Land, which is a asset, and you have more, so you debit it because they're on the left. That's it. Okay? And what did we give them? What did we have happen here? They donated the land, so the company gave them shares of stock, which represent equity over there. How do you increase equity? With a credit. What do you want to call the equity, seeing as it's stock? Probably common stock. Contributed capital of some kind anyway. Okay? There's also going to be preferred stock. There's going to be additional paid-in capital on common stock, preferred stock. They're all equity. Don't worry about it. Okay? How are you going to increase every single equity account? As you find out an account's an equity account, how are you going to increase it? With a credit, because they're on the right. How are you going to reduce it? Debit, because they're on the right. Okay? All right. Let's do that one too then. Okay? I can make anything last forever. It's terrible. What would that do? What would it do if you recorded it, gang? I think assets go up by 10,000. Don't you? What else goes up by 10? Big deal. What, by the way, what happens to liabilities, revenue, expense if you do not debit or credit a liability, revenue, or expense? How about nothing? Can you tell me no effect? Am I making this ridiculously easy for you? Yes. All you got to do is practice a little bit, okay? All you got to do is try and work. Put the time in. You don't get anywhere without putting any time in. It's just not going to happen, okay? You're going to think, oh, I sort of understand it, and then you're going to sit down and I'm going to have you work at lightning speed, right? Because I know that if you have forever to sit there and think about it, you could probably figure it out. And nobody will want to employ you. Because if it takes you 8 hours to do what it takes, if it takes you 8 hours to do what it takes him 1 hour to do, he's worth 8 times what you are. Actually, he still works there, you don't. That's it. Have you ever gone to a fast food joint and watched people stand there while you wait in line and do nothing? I think minimum wage is way too low because nobody can live on it. But I don't think those people are even worth minimum wage. They're doing nothing. Right? Everybody ought to get paid a living wage and everybody ought to work. Right? When they're at work, work. Like you over there at that center over there. Right? What the hell are you supposed to do with it? You checking people in and stuff?
Check people in and do laundry.
Oh, you're doing laundry. I hope you do it fast.
It's not me.
Yeah, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm up in the morning. Yeah, okay. Anyway, if I fail to record this, what would you say? Land would be what? How about understated? Assets would be understated. Equity would be understated too because you failed to record it. Big deal. And what would be wrong with liabilities, revenue, and expense? How about nothing? Got it? Okay, let's do the next one. Purchase equipment for $900, paying $100 down and signing a note for the remainder. What did we get? Equipment, which is a asset. What do you want to do? Debit it because you have more. Okay, I'm getting sick of saying this. Getting sick of hearing it? Oh. All right, 100 down on what? Cash, I bet, which is a credit because it's a asset and we have less, right? Okay, cash. Less asset. Notice when I increased assets, I debited them. When I reduced assets, I credited them. Same asset, right? That was at 100. Okay? And then we sign a note for the remainder. What would you call that? Notice debits have equal credits, right? 2 credits this time. Okay, what do you think? How about notes payable? Another note payable. Okay? And you could put notes payable to somebody if you want, for each one of them. If you want, okay? You do it. Doesn't matter. All right, purchase supplies on account for $300. Oh, let's do that one too, because there's 3. And boy, it's so much harder if there's 3, isn't it? No. We could have 5 different types of accounts, couldn't we? There are 5 types of accounts. Wouldn't matter. Okay, equipment is an asset, right? What would happen if you debit it? Goes up by 900. Everybody agree with that? Cash is an asset. What happens to it? It goes down by 100. Everybody agree with that? Okay, notes payable is a what? Liability. It goes up by 800. Did everybody agree with that? Does that balance? Of course, because assets in total do what? It goes up by 9 and down by 100. It goes up by 800, and those two agree with each other. Wonderful, huh? It's easy. Okay. Delivered flowers to customers totaling 800. 600 was paid for the flower when the flowers were delivered. The remainder later this month. Okay. So what did I get when I delivered the flowers? What did they give me? They gave me cash, which is a asset, and I have more. What do you want to do to it? Debit it, of course. Okay. Cash goes up by 600. Everybody agree? All right. And but it was 800 total. What do you call that? The 800. Why am I delivering flowers to people? That's how I earn my revenues. It's a revenue, isn't it? Do I have more revenue because I delivered the flowers? Of course. You can call it flower revenue. You can call it service revenue. Flower service revenue. I don't care. Okay? Flower revenue. Okay? Let's call it flower revenue. I don't know if anybody really does that, but they might call it sales, actually. For now, flower revenue. Okay? What do we want? 800? What did that just do? It increased revenues, right? That's what we're doing. Okay? Why do you credit revenues to increase them? Because equity is on the right-hand side, therefore it's a credit, and revenues are a subset of equity, and my equity goes up as I sell things. Right, guys? Okay, what's the 200 debit got to be? Because guess what? The debit's happening for the credits. They're going to pay me later. What's that called? Accounts receivable. Very easy. All right? All right. Oh, we didn't do understated and overstated. Could you handle understated and overstated with that last one? Yes, right? You failed to do it, right? Okay, let's do this one. Kind of fun. Okay, anyway, reminds me of the video games I'm playing with my grandson. He made me buy Plants and Zombies. Anybody ever see Plants and Zombies? I finally found a game I can handle. It is designed for a 6-year-old, so I can sort of keep up. Not with him, but I can do it. Shoot. Ever seen it? Really cool, huh? Yeah. Anyway. Why do little boys like to shoot everything? What is, yeah, anyway. So we got him doing Plants and Zombies instead of people shooting people. All the graphics are still the same and higher level that he's going up to. Yeah, still explosions everywhere. Oh well. Anyway, what would this one do, guys? Cash is a asset. Goes up by how much? Accounts receivable is a goes up by 200. Assets went up by a total of 800. Would everybody agree? Okay, what's revenue? Revenue. What happened to revenues? Increased by 800 with the credit. And what happened to net income then? Increased by how much? And how do we stay in balance here? Net income gets added to retained earnings, which is an equity account. You have 800 more here. Does 800 equal 800 or what? How would you answer the question, what happens? Well, you increase assets by 8. Nothing to liabilities. You increased equity by 8. You have to say that, right? Because it did. Okay? You increased revenue by 8. Nothing to expenses. Increased net income by 8. I could ask for all those things, and I will. Okay, those types of things. All right? Everybody got it? What if I fail to do it? I bet you this one would be understated. I bet you this one would be understated. That one's understated, and that one's understated. What do you think? Right? Happens to be. Okay? How many different types of accounts can I change here? How about all 5 of them? Assets, liabilities, equity, revenue, expense with journal entries. We do them all the time, don't we? Okay, good. All right. Paid at $500 a note payable. It should be from C above. Sorry about that. Plus $8 interest. Okay. What did we give up? Cash of how much? 508. Cash is a. So you got to know what happened. When you read these, ask yourself what happened. Until you know what happened, you can't record the transaction. Until you know what happened, you can't run a business, right? That's it. And how do you know what you want to have happen if you don't know what already happened? A mess. Okay, so 508 of cash. We have less. It's an asset. What do you want to do? Credit. It's a big deal. How repetitive can we get? What are we paying off? 500 of note payable. Note payable was a liability. We increased it with a credit. We're now reducing it. What do you want to do? Debit it, of course. Okay? How much did we borrow up there? What was the total we borrowed? 4,000. We paid back. So you think about that account, notes payable. It was C. 800. Okay, we borrowed 800 C. Okay, it was from C. But okay, 800, right? And we paid back 500 of it. Gee, I wonder how much we think we owe them now. 3?
292.
No, not 292. The 2 didn't reduce the debt, it was interest. I only paid 300 of the note. People are going to want interest, right? Oh, so what's the other debit for 8? That led right to that, right? It's horribly wrong, ridiculously wrong, but good. You know what? When you go to work, if you sit there and you worry that you might say something wrong, you might have the wrong answer, nobody will know you're there. They'll think you checked out. But if you have the courage to venture an answer, a suggestion, if it's really ridiculous, everybody gets to laugh and have fun, which that wasn't ridiculous. But if you got one that's really ridiculous, great, that's fun, okay? And they know you're confident. Oh, better. You don't say the same ridiculous thing over and over every day, and that kind of thing, all right? But you venture, right? You take a chance, okay? Oh, this person's got something, okay? Always speak up, always speak up, always speak up. Put your neck out there and have a chop off. Do it. It'll work great for your career. Okay? Here's the other thing. You know, in classes where they insist that you talk, which I don't do that to you guys, but in classes, we don't have time. But in classes where they insist that you guys talk, sit in the front row, talk for the first 2 minutes of every single class until the professor asks you not to talk so much. Works great. I did it over and over. I'm a real introvert. You guys tell I'm an introvert? Ever hear those Myers-Briggs things? You know, Kiersey temperament disorder, whatever, where they tell you you're an introvert, extrovert, and all those other things. I am an extreme introvert. My wife and I, when we're at home, we miss each other if we're not home together. We are on different floors doing different things. And that's time spent together, trust me. We can drive clear across the country and never say 2 words. I love living with another introvert. It's great. Okay? I like people just fine. I just don't want to talk to them, okay? Maybe when I retire, I'll talk to somebody. I talk to a lot of people. Look at this, right? But you know what? 75% of the people in the world are extroverts. If you act like an introvert, they will think there's something wrong with you. So pretend you're one of them, even though we know those extroverts are loud, obnoxious, annoying people that never shut up. I put an F in front of that, but I'm not supposed to. So, yeah, okay? I can't say that word. Ever see George Carlin's King? Passed away a while ago. He's got a whole album, well, it's a whole section of an album of swear words, one after another. And his whole routine is just swearing. And his whole point is, they're words. They're just words. Right? Not like you hit somebody or something horrible. Okay, anyway, yeah, but I'll try not to use that word, but every once in a while it slips out. So, you know, don't turn me in. Okay, I do. Anyway, I don't know what happens. What's the 8? You said it was interest. Did you? Somebody said it was, I said it was interest. It's interest. What do you bet? They said it was interest in the problem. It's interest something. What interest what?
Expense.
Expense, yeah. How is it an expense? Expenses are costs that we incurred to generate revenues. How is that a cost we incurred to generate revenues? What did you do? You borrowed money to buy, what do we buy? A piece of equipment? We borrowed money to buy a piece of equipment. What are we going to use the piece of equipment to do? Generate revenues. We're going to produce product, deliver product, something like that. If it's UPS, it's a truck or something, right? We are going to generate revenues with that piece of equipment. What's one of the costs of having the piece of equipment? You have to pay the interest on the debt, right? So guess what that makes the cost of the interest? One of the costs you incurred to get your revenues. Got it?
Why isn't the notes payable considered an expense?
Because the notes payable is a liability.
Right.
I borrowed it, now I paid it back.
But you borrowed it because you're going to make money with.
Yeah, but it's just, I got the loan, I had the debt, and now I paid the debt. There is no cost to doing that.
Okay.
If you will loan me $500, and next week I give you back $500, that costs me nothing.
Right.
Bad business deal for you, but good for me, right? Interest-free borrowing I love. Okay? Only the interest is the expense, right? That's the only cost of the borrowing, right? So the cost of borrowing is the interest expense, and the reason I did the borrowing was to earn revenues. Okay? That's what makes it an expense, of course. Okay? You got it, guys? I say of course, but it's of course after you know it, I guess. What does that one do? Let's do it again. Jeez. He can't get through anything. You guys probably, the guy that come to class, he covers half a problem when we leave. Okay, here we go. Doesn't matter how many problems we do, it matters how much you know, right? It's really, and this is all the same stuff. They're all the same thing. What does that one do? Can you do that one, guys? Notes payable is a liability. What happens to it if you debit it? It decreases. You know, if you did the journal entry, you know what it does, by definition, right? What does the debit do to interest expense? What's that? It increases expense, doesn't it? Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Okay. What does the credit to cash do? It decreases an asset. Oh, I'm not in balance, am I? 580 doesn't equal 500. Oh, yeah, I am. What happened? What happened to revenues, by the way? Revenues. No effect. There's no revenue in there, right? Okay. Let's see. No effect on revenues and expenses went up by 8. What do you think? What happened to net income? I think it went down by 8. And net income is going to be closed into retained earnings, which must have then gone equities, retainers and equity account, right? It's gone down by 8. Does that work? Yeah. What if I fail to do it? I bet assets would be overstated this time. I bet liabilities would be overstated. I bet equity would be overstated. And this looks a little different. Nothing for revenues. What about expenses? Understated, which causes what to net income? Overstatement. Can you do it? Yeah. We'll practice. How many different transactions could I give you guys? Millions. So what do you want to know? How to handle those 5 accounts? As soon as you see the name of an account, what do you want to do? And it's something we've got exchanged. What is it? Asset, liability, equity, revenue, expense. As soon as you know that, you can record it, right? What I get, what I give up. Every time. Okay? All right, let's see. We purchased supplies on account for 300. What would that be? Purchase supplies. What did I get? Asset, name. Supplies. The author calls it supplies. Put the word inventory on it because there's also supplies, expense, supplies payable, and that kind of thing, right? Different types of things, liabilities, expenses. So put the word inventory on it. You got it made, okay? Supplies inventory 300. Please do that so I know that you know it's an asset, okay? And then I don't want you to write asset next to it. Write inventory after supplies. That does it, right? Okay, it's on account though. That means I didn't pay for them. What do I have? Account payable, right? On open account. Just like an account receivable, except I owe this one instead of it being owed to me. Okay? That is a asset, liability, whatever. Liability. How do you increase liabilities? Credit. So we credit accounts payable. Got it? 300. Okay, let's not do that. You could do it, right? Increase an asset, increase a liability. There we go. Right? Okay. All right. Delivered flowers to customers totaling 800. 600 was paid when the flowers were delivered. Didn't we already do that one? Oh, we already did this one. You guys didn't say anything. You just looked at me like you can't possibly make a mistake. Isn't that funny how students do that? You know, no matter how much you screw up, it must be me. Confidence, guys. Say, Richardson, for God's sakes. Never did anything to. Okay, F. G. Paid for the supplies. Okay, we're paying for those supplies. What are you going to pay for them with? Cash, which is an asset. I have less. What do I want to do? Credit cash. How much?
300.
What do you want to debit? What don't you have anymore? You don't owe them the money anymore. You have less liability. How do you reduce liabilities? With debits. What's the name of the liability? Account payable. You guys can nail this, can't you? Okay. Received $100 the amount owed by customers for flowers. Okay. What do we get? Cash. It's an asset. What do you want to do? Debit, of course. Okay. Increasing the assets. What don't I have anymore? Account receivable. They paid me. They don't owe it to me anymore, so what would I do? Credit accounts receivable.
But on E, it says that the flowers were 800 and only 600 were paid.
Yeah.
And this didn't.
Yeah. So what must be the case in accounts receivable? That's a great point. How much did we put in accounts receivable when they bought it from us?
200.
200. How much have they now paid? 100. How much would they still owe us? 100. Isn't that cool? Got it? So when you look at accounts receivable on a company's balance sheet, it's $10 million. What is that? It's everything all their customers have bought from them but not paid for yet. Right? It's everything their customers owe them. Okay? So could a customer owe you 200 and pay you 100? Sure. They still owe you 100. Did I do it? Okay, good. Good. Glad you brought that up. Hiring an employee, agreeing to pay her 150 a week starting next week. What did we give her and what did she give us? Has she worked for us yet? No. Have we paid her yet? No. Is there an exchange? No. So what would you say? Write down no entry. If you leave it blank, how do I know you know it's no entry? I assume you don't know what you're doing. Write down no entry. For that. What a nice guy. Okay, on J. The new employees now work 2 weeks and is paid for 2 weeks' work. 150 times 2 probably? So what do we pay for it? That's 300. How much do we pay? What do we pay for it with? Cash. What would you do? Credit cash for 300? Everybody agree with that? And what do you want to debit? What is the 300? Ah, she did the work and I used it up. You don't get to keep the work, right? She did the work and I used it up. It's an expense. What do you think? Wage expense, salary expense? Wages are if they're working hourly. Salary is if they have a fixed salary. That's it. Okay? Wages are hourly typically, right? So we say wages and salary expense, or just wage expense if they're hourly workers, or salary expense if they're just salaried workers. So this one would probably be what? Salary expense, probably. Okay? Sure. Salary expense. Why isn't it an expense? Oh, by the way, what does a debit do to expense? Increases it. And what does that do to your net income? Decreases it. And what does that do to your equity? Decreases it. So here we go again, right? Isn't this crazy? I could do this with any transaction, of course, just to make sure you know what you're doing. And there's a whole bunch of problems in the book that do this. Nice little exercises. If you're working those exercises, you've done this a lot. If you're not working those, it's the first time you've ever seen it, you're pretty much screwed. Yeah, don't do that. Okay, work those, work them. They're real simple versions. And I talk about it in a more complex way, don't I? Because I've assumed you've already worked them and you already know what you're doing, and I'm filling in the pieces. And if you don't do that, oh well, take the class later or change your meeting. Right, guys? I want to keep saying that, but it's important before the first test. After the first test, it won't matter because all those people who aren't going to stay are going to drop. They'll be gone. A smaller group will just keep moving. It'll be fine. Then I won't say that anymore. Right? I'll call you survivors. Those of you who survive. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so what would this entry do here? Increase what? Expense by 300. Which does what? Decreases net income by 300, of course. Which does what to equity? Decreases it by 300. And then what's this part over here, the cash? Decrease an asset by 300. What if I fail to record it? Overstated, no effect. Overstated, no effect. Understated and overstated. Too much net income. Got it? Okay. And then paid rent for this month. It's for this month, so I used it up. By the way, what I pay was, which is 8. And I have less, so I credit cash. Okay. By the way, are you going to say that to yourself every single time? No. It's going to become subconscious, right? So like when somebody asks your name, you don't say, gee, I wonder what my name is. Well, I might, but I won't. Okay, so, you know, you're not going to do that. If you ask me how old I am, I've never been able to tell because my birthday's in December. So I always take the years, and I always think I'm a year older than I am, right? And then when I actually have my birthday, oh yeah, that's right. You know, so for 1 month a year, you know, or most of the month, I know how old I am. That's pretty bad. Okay, anyway. So credit cash, can't compute that. Yeah, but what? We used it out.
Rent expense.
Yeah, rent expense. Why do you rent your building? You know, it's your warehouse where you store the stuff you're going to sell. Or it's your store itself, right? Where you have stuff and customers come in and buy stuff. Does Walmart really want to rent all those properties? No, they want your money. You know what? I'll tell you what. They want the cash. If you would just send your money to Walmart, they'd have no stores, they'd have no inventory, they'd have no employees, right? They'd have no land, they'd have nothing, right? Just send us your money, come on, send it to us, it'd be great. Why does every business have every asset they've got? To generate revenues. Why do they want to generate revenues? Because it will convert to cash, more cash. Why do you guys go to work? Because it's so much fun, right? Now with me, yeah, that's true. What would I do otherwise? I'd be at home wandering around or something, right? I hope you find a career that you really like and you get paid enough to live on, right? That'd be great, okay? It's fantastic. It's ideal, right? It's really fun. I gave up money in public accounting and corporate accounting. Why? It wasn't as much fun as this. This is really fun. This is really stimulating, right? Of course, I have to work until I'm 100 probably, but still, yeah, okay. I'm going to see how long I can make it. I used to tell students that as soon as the Alzheimer's gets so bad, you know, did I tell you this yet? That I'm making absolutely no sense. I used to tell you that, but I know now it's already the case, right? I think it was the case when I was 30 years old and I started teaching. Actually, I think I was 29 when I started teaching. That's hard to believe. Oh well, anyway. So it's debit, rent expense, credit, cash. We did that one. Okay, now what do we do for number 10? It wants total assets, total liabilities, total equity, total revenues, total expenses, total net income based on each transaction. Okay, what you could do is you could set up an account for every single one of those and then add up the assets, right? Add up the liabilities, add up the equity, and that would work just fine. And the revenues and expenses too. Okay? But you know what? Seeing as I only wanted the totals, you know what I might do if I were you? I might do one T account for assets, another one for liabilities. Getting the drift on this? Another one for equity. That's a Q. Another one for revenues, and another one for expense. Okay, now we want to do this quick. Who wrote them down? Who wrote them all down? Every single one of them. Did you? Okay, fantastic. You're on. Okay. The first entry was debit what?
Debit 4,000 cash.
Okay, that's an asset. Debit 4,000 cash. Credit what?
4,000 notes payable.
Okay, that's a liability. You know that, or you couldn't have made the entry, right? Next one.
Debit land for 10,000.
Credit.
Credit common stock.
That's an equity, isn't it? How fast can you do this? Man, what a joke, huh? What's next?
Debit 900.
2.
Be quicker.
Okay. Credit.
Credit 100 cash and 800 notes payable.
Is everybody following what I'm doing? We're posting, aren't we? Copying. We can use all the separate accounts if we wanted and then add them up. That doesn't matter. It'd just be a little more cumbersome. This is faster. What's the next one?
Debit 600 cash and 200 accounts receivable.
Those are both assets, aren't they? 2 debits. What else? Oh, go ahead and finish that one, then we'll go back.
Credit 800 cash. Or 800 flour.
Oh, it's revenue. Okay, good. Then get our income statement going. All right, go back to the other one. Way to go. You know, that's really good they actually told you instead of just letting us finish. Good, thank you, somebody, for that. Okay, somebody's paying attention. Did she skip one, really?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it? Are we sure she skipped one? Oh, we bought some supplies inventory?
Yeah.
It's 300.
Oh, you didn't write down one. Way to go. Okay, all right. Okay, what's the next one?
Debit 500 notes payable and 8 interest expense.
And
then
credit?
508 cash.
Yeah, man, this is easy, isn't it? What else you got?
Debit 300 accounts payable
Okay,
and credit 300 cash.
good. Notice I'm making sure my debits equal my credits every time. Be careful, right? Get them in the right categories, of course. What else we got?
Debit 100 cash. Credit 100 accounts receivable.
Yeah, see, that didn't even change assets, did it? Sorry. If I asked what the impact of that was, what would you say? Nothing on assets, nothing on liabilities, nothing on equity, nothing on revenues, nothing on expense. I just gave away the hard one. Because that drives people nuts, huh? A journal entry that did nothing? Well, it did. It reduced receivables and increased cash. I don't know about you, I'd rather have cash than a receivable. If I'm reading a financial statement and I have $1 million more cash and $1 million less receivables, I like that. If I have $1 million more receivables and $1 million less cash, not so good. Do I want people to tell me the truth about where the company's at on the balance sheet? Sure. Okay, so it made a difference. What's the next one?
No entry. And then debit 300 salary expense.
Okay.
Credit 300 cash.
Mhm.
And then debit 300 rent expense and credit 300.
Whoop. 300 cash and debit 300 rent expense. Okay, good. What's the net income? It's the last question there. What's the net income? What would you need to get the net income? Probably revenues and expenses, huh? What's the revenues? 800. What's the expenses, everybody? 608. Is there anybody that can't tell me that revenues of 800 less expenses of 608 comes out to about net income of, oh, I can't do the math, 192, is it?
192.
Yeah. Debit or credit? It's credit, of course. That's net income. Big deal. What's the total revenues? 800. What's the total expenses? 608. What's the total equity? 10,000. Oh, these are hard. Somebody, a couple of you out there, please do the assets for us. Debits less the credits.
14,492
14,492 debit.
for assets, yeah.
Okay. And if equity's 10,000, the liabilities have to be how much, guys? Because assets equal liabilities plus equity. Everybody agree with that one? Okay, so 14,492 less 10,000, what does liabilities have to be? Oh, that didn't work. What did I do wrong?
Why doesn't it? take out net income,
Oh, the net income gets added to what?
equity.
Retained earnings. Sure, you got to remember to do that, and I didn't do it on purpose this time. Okay, what's the deal? The 192 net income increased my equity to how much, everybody? Good. That's a woo. Boy, did that get big. Okay, in equity we had 10,000, and I just added 192. How much do we have now for the net income? So I have contributed capital of 10,000, right? And net income for the first period, so retained earnings now of 192. So I have 10, 192, don't I? Oh, well, what does that make the liabilities? You know, 14,492 less 10, 192, what is it?
43.
4,300. Let's make sure it's right. What's 4 plus 8 plus 3 less 5 plus less 3? It's 4,300. We're happy, aren't we? So you make sure everything ties out. Everybody good? Sure, and pick up that net income. What if it was a net loss? What happens to your wealth, your equity, if it's a net loss? It goes down. What if it was a dividend? The asset would go down, cash, and retained earnings equity would go down. Right, guys? Okay, you know that. Okay, good. Got through one whole problem. Now that's good. There's a lot in there, isn't there? So let's take a look at quiz 3 and 4. Those of you who have it, and you've been trying a little bit, what would you like to do? Number 1, 2, 3? You don't really want to do 4, do you? How do you increase rent expense? How about a debit? How do you, accumulated depreciation though. How do you increase that? It's a contra asset. Assets are increased with debits. Accumulated depreciation, a portion of the asset that we've used up is a contra account. You increase it with a credit. Opposite the normal. That was hard. Unearned revenue? What's unearned revenue? I haven't earned the revenue yet. What is it? It's a liability. They paid me, but I haven't earned it yet. I have a liability. So what would that be? So maybe these are a little harder. Yeah, that's a credit. That's kind of chapter 4, by the way. And prepaid salaries? I paid for it in advance. That's an asset, debit. So I take it back. 4 is hard for you guys right now. After you do chapter 4, it's huge. So, that's good. When you look at 4, and you work again, you got some work to do, huh? Not now. When we do chapter 4. Take a look at 5 if you want. Take a look at that problem. Holy cow. Just read through it. Look at the first half of the problem you'll be able to do. Because we've already covered that in chapters 1 through 3. The last half of the problem you're going to think I'm nuts at this point. But how easy is the stuff we've done so far? For those of you who've been working hard, how easy is this class so far? Nothing to it, right? Other than the time you have to spend, right? I mean, it's hard work. But can you do this stuff? Yeah, you can do it. You can keep it like that all the way through. If you looked at the final, well, instead, just look at the last test. Look at the last test and read those problems. You're going to be like, holy shit, he's nuts. I don't even know what he's talking about. Well, you know what? It's in the book. It's in my head. I'm going to say it 30 times. We're going to work problems. And if you work problems over and over and over, it's going to be a piece of cake. Big deal, you do a consolidation elimination journal entry. Big deal, you do a cash flow statement. Big deal, you handle trading securities, available for sale, short-term, available for sale, long-term, held to maturity, and what did I leave out? Oh, something else. Oh, I know, equity interest in the company. And the other one would be consolidation because you own more than 50%. But if you own between 20 and 50%, that's the equity method. If you own less than 20%, you're going to use either trading securities, available for sale, short-term, available for sale, long-term. How many of you know what the hell I'm talking about? Nobody. I do sort of. Okay? But I'll read the chapter right before we do it. Now, we can do this. It's no big deal. There's nothing to it. Okay? Just keep yourself in it. Keep yourself in it. What do you think your odds are of being able to handle that stuff if you can't do this? 0. 0. It's over. I'm not going to be saying what an asset is anymore. Okay? Or whether it's revenue or expenses. And we're just going to do it. Okay? Right? And then you won't have to be back here again. I look around and see a few faces that are here another time. And I like you guys, so it's neat you came back to my class again. Really appreciate it. Well, that's what I do when the person teaches us. Yeah.
Is number 1 the balance for the 2011?
Yeah.
think, I don't know about it. Does the retained earnings from 2012 roll over back?
Well, what do you think? When you close the books to start a new year, everybody, what do you think? When you close the books to start a new year, do your assets go away? No, thank goodness. My house is gone, it just evaporates because it's the new year. I don't think so, in my car. Okay, does your debt go away, your liabilities? Wouldn't that be cool? I would borrow as much money as I possibly could, right? You know, all year. And then, you know, when it's the new year, what happens? I don't owe it anymore, right? By the way, in the Bible, that's what we're supposed to do every few years. We're supposed to forgive everybody's debts. I'm not kidding. You know, you're not supposed to borrow money, you're not supposed to lend money, but to the extent somebody has to borrow, you lend to them to help them. And then after a few years, if they can't repay you, you're supposed to forgive it. If you're a good Christian, that's what you do. Apparently. Yeah. I don't do that. Yeah, I don't do that. I'm an agnostic, I don't have to. Okay, yeah. You guys are in trouble, maybe, if you're a Christian. But, yeah, read the Bible. It actually says it, yeah. I always thought they made that up. But I finally read the Bible. And I read around, I can't remember what the Jewish one's called. The Torah, thank you. Read that too. They're all really good books with an incredible amount of violence in them. Incredible. You should love everybody, but it's okay to kill them. Okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so everybody should read those before they talk about what's in them, like we all do. Okay, anyway, so what were we talking about? Oh, does therefore your equity go away? If your assets don't go away and your liabilities don't go away, does your equity go away? No. The contributed capital doesn't go away. Does the retained earnings go away? You earned it and retained it. Although, can you see that it doesn't go away. Can you see that retained earnings? So it rolls over, yes, it stays there. Can you see that retained earnings? Touch it and feel it. No, you can see the assets. I always think about that, right? Most of them you can see, not all of them. Some are called intangibles. You can feel the liabilities. Anybody in here owe any money to anybody? You can't see it. You can't see a liability, but can you feel it? Oh man, you can feel it. You can feel it. Trust me, you guys. When you start borrowing money, right? You can feel it. Anybody got a school loan? Or your parents have the school loans? You brought them, children. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yeah. Get your own school loans. Okay. Yeah, I paid for my kids' education too. My son, when he went to law school, he was really disappointed that he didn't pay for it. Are you kidding me? Jeez. You're going to give me all your money you earn over your lifetime? He's still pissed about it. He's still paying for that. Okay. Anyway, do your revenues and expenses go away? No, but you make them zero and add them to equity, right? To retained earnings, and then you start the new year, okay? But even during the year, do you have to add the net income to retained earnings to get your current retained earnings? So whatever your retained earnings balance is, you have to add the net income to it. Let's do just the first one there. I have a couple minutes. Let's do the first one here, Ernst Company, okay? What do we know, guys? If you don't have this in front of you, you should. Stop doing that. So if you don't know what we're doing right now, boy, that's sad. You guys could plan, couldn't you? I would think you'd have them by now, right? Quizzes. Next time we see each other, okay? Come on, you guys. Come to business meetings prepared. Are you bringing your book? I see more books today. That's good, right? How often should you bring your book? Every day. How many should you bring a pencil and a piece of paper? Or your brain. Yeah, okay, anyway. Oh, by the way, if you're really tired, you know, you wouldn't be hungover, you're too young. You know, it didn't feel well, you know. Should you still come? Yes, if you're not contagious, right? Yeah, you might get something out of it. What if you haven't read the material yet? Come anyway. What if I ask you a question, you get embarrassed? Read next time. Come on, right? Get ready, okay? Yeah. All right, anyway, so what do we know about retained earnings? This is the same problem that I gave you on the other quiz. It is, isn't it? It's just you have opening balances. Okay, retained earnings. Beginning is how much? I don't know. What's ending? 150, yeah. Okay, liabilities, what do I know? Beginning. I got beginning and ending now. So 330. Try to make it to the review session today, guys. Owner's investment, how much is that? 50. What would that get added to? The owner's invested. Where would it go? More contributed capital. Okay, I don't know the beginning yet, but I know 50 got added, right? Okay, what do I know about assets? Beginning is how much?
700.
700. What's ending? 600. Be careful, sometimes I'll switch those years around. I don't mean to, but I do. Different problems work out different ways. Revenues?
Doesn't the 700 go with 330? And the 600 go with the other?
They're both assets. Whoops, I do it backwards?
With your liability.
The ending is 600, the beginning is 700. Oh, the 330 is the beginning. Oh, thank you. The 330 is the beginning. All right, thank you. Yeah, I screw it all up. Okay, be careful. Yeah, like I'm not. Okay, good. Dividends? Where does that come out of, everybody? Retained earnings. So you guys know this stuff, don't you? Contributed capital, is that beginning or end? That's ending, isn't it? Okay, did I get everything in the right place now? Did I write down everything we do? I did, didn't I? Can you solve for anything? Let's solve for something. Beginning equity is how much? You know, you got 700 assets and 330 liabilities. What's equity? 370. This one's 370. I can get that number, right? Okay, now what can I do? Keep going.
Ending liabilities is 300.
How do I know my ending liabilities are 300?
Because you were...
I don't know the ending equity yet. I got two unknowns here. What can I solve, you guys? Oh, I can solve the ending equity. How much is the ending equity? 250, right? 100 plus 150, everybody agree? Oh, so I got that one now. Now what can I do? Now I can do the liabilities. How much is that? It's 350. 600 less 250. Everybody got it? Okay. I need more. What's the beginning balance in either contributed capital or retained earnings? If I had those, I could do something. What do you think? Don't you think the net income's going to get added here? It is, isn't it? What do you want to do, guys? I don't know this one, I don't know this one, I don't know this one, I don't know that one. Oh, I could get this one. What is it? It's 50, because I added 50 to something, right? So the beginning contributed capital is 50. Everybody agree with that? Now what can I do? What's ending or beginning retained earnings? Let's see, I got beginning equity of 370, right? I've got 50 here for contributed capital. This company has a real problem. What's beginning retained earnings? 320, right? 50 away from 370 is 320. Uh-oh. What's net income? It's not net income, is it? 320 less 10 made it 310, and it's down to 150. What happened? There's your dividends coming out, right, everybody? I don't have net income. What do I have? Net loss, and it's big. How much is it? 320 less 10 made it 310. It's now 150. What's it, 160? 160 net loss. Oh, my gosh. Net loss, if I did the math right. If I got 160 net loss, this is a credit. That's a debit, right? Everybody see it? Revenue is a credit. Net loss is a debit. What do you think expenses are? It's 560. Of course. Got it. I can answer all the questions. Easy, huh? No. Need to work on them? There are 2 on the quiz, and there are 2 on the test. How generous. Practice. And there are similar things in the textbook, too, by the way. Not quite like this problem, because I made them up. Really makes you see the relationship stuff. Look at that. Oh, that's fine. No problem. Well, come on. Yeah, I'll cover whatever you got. Yeah, we can work on it. Good. You know what? Thinking about it is really what it's. Let's go. Okay. What you're gonna have to do with this, of course, is, and you can use these for assets, liabilities, equity, but you don't really need to. Between beginning and ending, because we're not gonna look at for changes in it, right? So beginning assets equals beginning liabilities plus equity, right? And beginning assets equals ending. You know that, right? And then I gave you separately capital. So you can sort of really nice. After okay, well what happens when you take your beginning balance goes here, right? Okay. And then you got your net income, or your net loss, or your dividend, right? And then you get down to your ending. You contribute capital at the beginning, and maybe an additional contribution, or maybe a withdrawal by number two, right? Okay? So, all right, so let's see what we've got. Contribute capital at the beginning is 100, right? So this is 100. Whoops, that's the end. Okay, so 2012 is 800. Right? You know it's a credit because it's equity. And at the beginning it's 200. So it looks to me like the owners took out 100, right? Yeah, they retired stock. They took out 100. The owners said, right? Negative 100. Yeah, because they took out 100. So that made this hard. Okay? Right? All right, then what do we do? You know the revenues are 240, right? Okay, that's a credit. We know liabilities started at 270, right?
So you have like,
we know the retained earnings at the beginning are 160.
would they go around and be like cheaper, right?
Okay. And we don't know anything else. All right, I pick them all. Yeah, beginning equity is 200 plus 160, or no, that's perfect. It's 360, right? And what's ending equity? You got that too. 100 plus 200 is 300. Will that allow me to get the assets? Sure. What's 360 and 630? Or 360 and 270 is 630. Right? This plus this. Is that right? And then this is 600. Agree with that? Okay, and they took 100 out, so they must have put that 40 in. Okay, the dividends are 0. Didn't write that down. Okay, so what's net income, guys? If I start at 160 and take out nothing, how much is net income? Got it. I took out nothing. Dividend was 0. The net income's got to be 40, doesn't it? Agree with that? Start at 160, it goes up to 200.
Yeah, dude, like the entire.
You get the 10 cents. That's what it is. Okay, so it's net income. 40.
Windows down is perfect.
Revenues is 240. What do we got? You got I end up with a whole bunch of conversations on these employees. At the end, I shouldn't have there. I didn't.
We're still the ones who pay bills.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we can do the ones on the test. Different ones, okay? That'd be great. Okay. Keep working, kids. Again, I'm sorry I didn't get back to you.
No, sorry, you can talk about it.